Well, hello, and welcome to Live Live, a place where we meet up to receive motivational, inspirational, and activational strategies for those challenging and changing life moments. I am your host, Keeler Bryson. Well, it's the start of another week, and I trust and hope that your weekend was awesome, and I trust and pray that the start of this week for you has been great thus far. Well, I'm going to go ahead and dive right into tonight's topic. Tonight, I want to talk to you about a subject that at first, when you hear it, sounds relatively simple. But when you really think about this question on a deeper level, it will cause you to begin to examine your life in a more close way to figure out, are you on course? Are you behind? Or are you ahead of schedule with regard to your life? Tonight, I want to talk about, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? You know, we live in a culture that's filled with so many GPS tracking technology devices, such as our cell phones. You know, we can be tracked by our cell phones. Our automobiles have tracking devices in them. Even our email addresses can be traced back to where we actually live. And so as a result of all these different tracking devices, when you really think about it, there is no excuse for us being lost in this day and time. We have MapQuest. We have Google Maps. Some of us have the Scout Maps app on our iPhone. Whatever it is, there is some sort of gadget that you can use to help you get from one desired location to another so that you don't get lost. Wouldn't it be great if in our personal lives we could enter in a beginning address and an ending address like we do on these tracking devices to help us locate a favorable route, a route that will get us to a desired goal or a desired dream? Well, when you think about it, we can do the same thing with our natural lives. We can map out our lives and figure out, okay, I want to go here. I live here, but I want to go to this destination. I need to figure out, how long is it going to take me to get there? I need to figure out how many miles is it going to take me to get there. I mean, what is the wear and tear going to be like on my car? And we can do that same thing with our lives, but we first have to get a system together in order to make that happen. And what's really neat, when you think about these GPS or these tracking devices or these directional devices, is that most of them will speak to us and give us a direction so that we don't have to be driving down the road looking at our paper trying to figure out, okay, is this the next turn, or is this street light up here the street that I make this right turn on? And as a result, it really helps you to arrive safely because you're not having to look down at your paper. The GPS system will speak to you and give you your directions, and I love that feature because then I don't have to worry about, whether or not looking at my paper trying to make sure I don't run this stoplight or run through this stop sign. And then another thing that I find interesting about the process of trying to get directions to get to one location to another, have you realized how in most cases we just trust those directions that these GPS systems or these MapQuest systems give us? We literally trust that those instructions are the right instructions that are going to get us to where we're trying to go. We just believe it. But in reality, when you look at it, do we really know whether or not these directions are going to help us to arrive where we're trying to go? No, we really don't. We just have to trust and believe by faith that these are the right directions, and therefore we load up in our car and we begin to follow those directions, and then eventually if we stick to those directions, we will arrive at our destination. So right now, I have a question, a little exercise that I want you to do. I want you to just calm down, sit up straight, close your eyes, and I want you to just look at your life right now. Take a look within yourself and ask yourself, where am I? Where am I emotionally? Because many people are in a bad place right now emotionally. There's so much devastation going on around the country, around the world, And a lot of times we get up and we just deal with it like a soldier, but rarely do we sit down and ask ourselves, where am I? Am I really okay? Where am I emotionally? Where am I in my career? Where am I with regard to my goals and my dreams? Where am I with regard to a relationship? This is another big, heavy area that a lot of people are stuck in right now, and that's a bad relationship, toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships. Where are you in your relationship? Where are you with regard to dating? Where are you with regard to marriage? Because some of you young adults, some of you may already have entered into a marriage relationship. Where are you? Where are you financially? This is another area that a lot of times we don't want to admit where we are financially, because it sometimes can be a terrorizing picture, especially if we've gone out and overextended ourselves with cars and credit cards and trying to buy all these gadgets to fit in with what society said we should have in order to be successful. Where are we spiritually? Because if we're in an unhealthy place spiritually, then it will carry over into other areas of our lives. Where are you mentally? Ask yourself, where am I mentally? Am I almost in the crazy zone? Am I operating right now with a level head? Am I operating from a mentality of wisdom? You would be surprised, and this is a really, really big one too, because there's so many people walking around mentally on the verge of snapping, on the verge of committing suicide, homicide. And so we need to take inventory of where am I? And then the final area that I want to ask you so that you can ask yourself is, where is the real you? This is another big area, because so many people are walking around living the role of someone else that has been approved by their peers, their friends, various organizations that they're a part of, but that's not the real them. And so they've decided to put the real them aside and then carry out this role of whom everyone believes that they are. But it's not the real you. Where is the real you? And this is the question that we need to ask ourselves if we're going to move forward and advance and accomplish some things in our lives. Are we en route to our predestined life? Are you lost? Because some people know they lost. And then some people, they'll just tell you, well, yeah, I know where I am. I'm lost right now. I'm hanging out in hotel rooms with men that I'm not married to, women I'm not married to. Yeah, I'm lost right now. I'm not working. I'm hanging out smoking weed with my friends, or I'm involved in this toxic relationship with this young man, this young lady. We're fornicating or whatever, or they're verbally and physically abusive to me. Some people know they're lost. Yeah, I know I'm lost. I'm not getting along with my parents right now because they're trying to show me the way that I should go, but I'm in rebellion against them because I just enjoy what I'm doing and I don't want to straighten up right now. But if you know that you're lost, at least you're part of the way to turning around your situation, because the first step in getting help is you've got to admit that there's a problem. And in this particular case, the problem is you're lost. And so if you can admit that, then at least you can begin to get help. Some people are lost and don't know they're lost. They think that they're on their way to their desired destination. They think they're headed toward Texas, but they're in the direction of going toward Memphis. And unless someone speaks to them, unless someone gets their attention, and unless they heed to the advice of someone, they're going to end up in the wrong place. And so if you know you're lost, let's get on the right track. And by all means, don't listen to somebody else who's off track as well, because they sure enough can't help you. Now, another exercise I want you to do for me right now. Think back on last week. I know most people are saying last week, Keeler. I can't think. I can barely remember what I did Saturday. Okay, just forgive me, but try real hard. Think back on last week. What did you do with your moments and your hours last week? Did you sleep most of the week? Yeah, I know it's summer vacation and a lot of young people, yeah, they're out of college, out of school. Yep, they probably did sleep. And some of you out there are probably saying, yeah, Keila, I did. Honestly, I have to admit it, I did sleep a lot last week. Okay, good for you. We're going to help you with that. The next question I want to know, did you spend most of your time texting? Some folks are just addicted to texting, and they are superstars at it, and they can go real fast with it, and that's all they do all day is text, text, text. Okay? What about being on the phone? Were you on the phone a whole lot last week? Were you on Facebook and Instagram or Twitter? Yep, all these social media gadgets. It, too, can become very addictive and very distracting. Or did you watch a lot of TV last week? You know, a lot of times when folks don't have anything to do, they watch TV. They watch Hip Hop Atlanta, the Bad Girls Club. Those are some of the favorites that I see a lot of young people like to watch. And it can be addictive. Or did you spend last week working? Or did you spend last week stuck in the depression of a breakup or a love rut? Yeah, some people wasted a whole week in depression because perhaps they're in a relationship that they hope had worked out, and it's just obvious that it's going nowhere, that this relationship is unhealthy for me, that this relationship is taking too much from me. It's not pouring back in what I'm pouring out. And so you may have found yourself last week just in a dark place, in a dark room, and just stressed out. But at least you know where you were last week. And so if you're able to identify where you were last week, and if it wasn't a good place, then I have some good news for you. Tonight we're going to try to walk you through and get some tips on how to get to where you should be. You know, if we rarely take the time to ask ourselves, where am I? We will never arrive at our preordained purpose. In fact, we'll find ourselves just driving around in circles. Now, picture this. You get in your car, you turn on your car, you put your seatbelt on, and you begin to drive. You put the car in drive, and you begin to go down the road, stop by the gas station, fill up the tank, get back in your car, and you just decide, okay, I'm just going to drive around the circles and around this pump. Just drive around this pump in circles and circles. Now, if you really did that in actuality, everybody at that gas station would be stopping, wondering what in the world is wrong with you. In fact, someone would probably come up and try to stop you and say, hey, waving their hands, are you okay? In other words, are you alert? Are you aware of what you're doing? Are you here? Are you at yourself? Are you in your right mind right now? And if you continue to just drive in circles, eventually they will call the police on you because that is abnormal behavior. It's ridiculous to gas up your car and then decide you're going to drive around in circles around the pump at the gas station. Now, that may sound, ridiculous and a bit hilarious, but in actuality, that's what we're doing with our lives if we're not constantly checking in to see where we are. If you don't know where you are, then you don't know whether you're off course or on course to your destination. Everybody knows I like to read, and if you don't know, well, now you do know. I love to read. I love to write. I love writing in journals. And I read a book by Chris Garner. It's called Start With What You Have, and he is the guy that they did the movie after In Pursuit of Happiness. And so in his book that I just told you about, he has a quote in there that says, wherever we are in life, it's because we drove ourselves there. And when you think about that, you're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good if it's a good place that I drove myself to. But what about if it's a bad place that I drove myself to? then when we think about it in that perspective, it's like we're like, no, I don't think that I would purposely drive myself to a bad relationship. I don't think I would purposely drive myself into being mentally distraught. I don't think that I would purposely hide the real me just to fit in with people and organizations and my peers and all. But when you think about it, yeah, you did drive yourself there. You know how you drove yourself there? With a simple decision to do so. The simple decision to be in a relationship you know is unhealthy and toxic. The simple decision to walk around and let yourself be mentally disturbed without seeking some help with regard to your almost being on the verge of snapping. We will drive ourselves anywhere we want to go simply by making the decision to do so. So, when you look at your life, and I ask you the question, where are you? If it's a good place, congratulations. You drove yourself there. If you are not in the place that you desire to be, then don't worry. We're going to walk you through this. We're going to help you through this. And we're going to help you get on track so that you will arrive at the place that you need to be. And it all starts with simple decisions to make a change. So the purpose of this week's call is, first of all, to just make us simply think about whether or not we are where we should be right now at this moment in time. This call is to make us think about whether or not we're in a healthy place. You know, because if it's not a healthy place that you're finding yourself in, then we need to address that. Because there's no need of you sitting in that particular unhealthy place, driving around that pump in circles, when you can break that cycle and begin to move in a direction that's more healthy and a direction that has more of a productive destination. And the last reason for this tonight's call is for us to figure out what we need to do if we are in a place that we should not be. You know, when you ask folks this question, where are you? If they begin to make excuses of why they not where they should be, that right there is indication to you that something is wrong. I know when you look in Scripture, in Genesis 3, starting at verse about the 8th verse, God is walking through the garden and he's looking for Adam and Eve. And the scripture says they hid themselves from the presence of the Lord. And the Lord called out and said, where are you? In other words, he was asking them, why are you not where you should be? And most of the time when we're not where we should be, we begin to make excuses about why we're not there, because we know we've done something to prevent us from being where we should be. And so that's why it's so absolutely necessary to ask ourselves this question periodically, quarterly, 2 times a year, to just make sure that we're on course, because it is so easy for us to get off course and get caught up with the wrong things, the wrong people, the wrong ideas. And if you're not careful, you'll think that you are where you're supposed to be. But until the question is asked, it forces you to think and to look at your life, look at your decisions, to determine, what am I doing? Is this me? Is this healthy? Is this unhealthy? Is this productive? And if it's not, then here's what you need to do. The first thing that you need to do tonight, starting tonight, if you know that you are in an unhealthy place, in an unhealthy relationship, you with the wrong guy, you with the wrong gal, you're with the wrong group of friends, the first thing you need to do before you go to bed tonight, you need to write out an agenda. And this agenda is an agenda of what you need to do to get out of where you are. Okay, the first thing you need to do is write down all the things that you feel are unhealthy, all the locations, so to speak, where you are currently that you should not be. Identify those areas of where you are that you should not be. Okay, and then the next thing you need to do is write out, what do you need to do to get where you need to be? Is it going back to school? Is it getting a better job? Is it ending a relationship, ending a toxic relationship, ending an unproductive relationship? Do you need to begin to connect with a better group of peers? Do you need to get a mentor? Or do you need to just go and repent, maybe to your parents for some things that you've done as far as, being disobedient, disrespectful, or rebellious towards them? Sometimes it could just be a simple thing as that, and then you begin to get on track. Okay, so then after you write down what areas you're lost in, then you're going to write down what you need to do to get unlost, so to speak. Then you're going to map out what is it going to take to get it done. And then you need to put a deadline on that. Because if you don't put a deadline on it, then you're going to begin to drift back deeply into a place that you're trying to get out of, and you won't begin to make any progress. A deadline helps you to put an end date to a problem that you're trying to end. If you're in a toxic relationship, how many days are you going to give yourself? How many weeks are you going to give yourself to end this relationship so that you can move forward? Then after you do those things, I want you to get up a little earlier every morning and begin to meditate over your agenda. Meditate over the steps that you need to take in order to move from the undesired place to the desired place. Meditate on the deadline. Pray about it. Begin to ask God every morning for spiritual guidance on how to accomplish that agenda of moving from where you are to where you need to be. And then I want you to read something inspirational each morning, something that feeds your desire and your goal to move to a healthier place. Or you can go and look at your vision board. I know last week we talked about, I gave you an assignment to create a vision board for yourself. That's something inspirational that you can look at and read over every morning so that you can remind yourself of where you're going or where you need to go or where you need to be, where you desire to be. But read something inspirational each morning. I mean, there are tons of stuff out here you can read. You can find you a good book and read a chapter in the morning or half of a chapter. Something to keep your mind focused, something to feed your mind to drown out the negativity that perhaps you've allowed to enter into your mind space. And then after you do that, I want you to speak positive affirmations over your life and over your goals. If you're trying to get to a better place financially, then you can say, I'm a money magnet. If you're trying to be successful, then you can say, I am successful, and success looks good on me. Or you can say, I'm at the corner of happy and healthy. That's Walmart's slogan, and I love it. I have that on my vision board because that's where I desire to be, at the corner of happy and healthy. And everybody should desire that. Who wants to live a life of misery, of a life of pain? You don't have to live it. If where you are is misery and pain, then let's get up, let's dust ourselves off, and let's get going. Let's change this situation. I don't care what it is. You can come out of it. You've got to make up your mind, get the plan together, and move to where you need to be. The next thing you need to do is to avoid negative influence. I know you've probably already heard all these steps, but we're going to reiterate them again. We're going to repeat them again, and we're going to keep on saying it until we begin to make some changes. Avoid negative influences that try to tempt you in the wrong direction. Now, you know what the wrong direction is. Anything that goes against what you've been taught to be right, to be the best thing to do, the healthy thing to do, you need to avoid those negative influences. And this can be friends, family members. Yes, I did. Sometimes it's even family members, unfortunately. Maybe you need to just give it a little break. Sometimes it's TV. Television has a way of influencing you negatively. And Lord knows a lot of these reality shows do just that. I've seen people watch them, and at the end of them, they're depressed because they're looking at the people on TV living a fabulous life, and then they're looking at their life in reality, and they begin to get depressed because they don't have all this stuff that these folks on these reality shows are reflecting that they have. Or you can watch these shows like the Bad Girls Club. A bunch of negativity goes on that show, and if you're not careful, you'll find yourself acting out in the same spirit. So you want to limit that. Don't watch these negative shows. Look for things that are pure, things that are healthy, things that are going to create growth and productivity in your life. Music is another thing. Some music make you sad, some make you depressed, some make you want to go fight and jump on somebody. And if that's you, then you need to turn this off and find you something that makes you get motivated, something music that makes you get inspired and want to go and do something great. The next thing, avoid, you even have to be careful of the clothes, because some clothes have negative influences on them. There are young people that wear the wrong clothes and they end up getting profiled. Some people wear negative clothes, they ended up getting solicited for prostitution. Some people end up getting their clothes causing to be a suspect instead of a prospect. So watch that. Sometimes it's your job can be a negative influence. If your current job is a negative influence, then you need to think about finding some better employment that's healthier. And the last thing that could be a negative influence is Y-O-U. You. Sometimes we can be our worst enemy, the enemy in me. What are you telling yourself? What type of decisions are you making? If it's negative, 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 what type of words are you speaking? If it's negative, 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 then you need to break that cycle and begin to do the opposite. And the last step is repeat, repeat, repeat. Everything that I just told you, you need to repeat it, repeat it, repeat it until you see a difference. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it until you beat it, beat it, beat it. Beat the situation, beat the odds, beat the statistics. And then you begin to see positive changes in your life. So that's what I wanted to discuss with you tonight. I hope that you find this information helpful, beneficial. I hope that it's something that begins to stir in your spirit and helps you to get on the right track and help you to find where you should be and help you to establish the steps to get you there. This has been a Teachable Life Moment with Keila Bryson, where it is absolutely imperative that you live life. If you would like to connect with me, you may do so. I'm on Facebook. You can find me at Keila Bryson, Teachable Life Moments, LLC. I'm on Twitter at Keila Savant, or you can visit my website at KeilaBryson.com. I've enjoyed the call. I hope you got something out of it, and I will see you next week on this same day at this same time. Have a great week, everybody.